Okay, so no photon left behind. We're carrying on from before. We've just extracted our Fiji folder, wherever you may put that. And if you go ahead and right click and send to desktop, you'll create a shortcut on the desktop to save finding that folder again. And I have that here, so let's open that up. The first time you run it, sometimes it takes a while. I think the McAfee antivirus gets upset and it takes a little while to look through the options there. And when I open up a folder, I've got here a couple of different example files we're gonna open up and look at. We have two of the Olympus formats, the OIF and the OIB, and the OIB will be a packed single file, and OIF has to come with its accompanying folder, so the OIF header is very small and the data lives inside that file there instead. And we have a SuperRes Delta Vision file here, just a couple I had on hand. Before we drag and drop that onto Fiji, it's good to make sure you have one of these options set correctly. So go to the ImageJ 2 in options, and there's a checkbox here, and we like to have this unchecked. This will then automatically open up the bioformats. There's a case when we need it checked, and we'll come back to that when we do the batch things at a later point. So leave that unchecked, and when you drag and drop, what it will do now is automatically open up the bioformats importer. So if the drag and drop doesn't work for your OS, or for some reason, you can go there and just open it up manually there, select the file. So let's just take the OIF, assuming that our folder lives in the right place with it, drag just the header and drop that on, and it brings up the bioformats import window. We'll go with the defaults. There are options to split channels and a few other things that you might want to use. Also the color mode we'll come back to in a second, just to make life a little easier for some repeat options. And we'll just go ahead and click OK. That opens up our file. Sometimes it gets the colors wrong. I've noticed with the Olympus files it doesn't do quite so well. And so now we have to go in and change these lookup tables, and you can just pick the channel you want at the bottom and then hit the lookup table and select your color. Let's make up green and then blue. So now we have three different channels with three different colors. So I'm just going to close that again and show you the option for the import. If we wanted to, we could you can try colorized. Sometimes that works. Composite, you can ask it to do the composite on import. I'm going to do that manually in a second. And custom is useful when you're bringing a few different files. So let's just show you that one if none of the other options work. So colorized, custom colorization, you get to pick. So we know that the first one's blue, so we've got for each channel down we've got it's RGB for standard imaging, but we actually have the other way around. In these images we've got blue, green, red. So we want to set this to be 0 and this one 255. You can use these sliders to mix any color you want. And then green we want, and then red, all of red and none of blue. And so then it will remember this particular combination, so next time you can just hit OK, and every time you open up one of your files it will remember that color combination. Okay, let's open up a couple of adjustment and display windows. So image adjust, brightness, contrast. That's Control-Shift-C. You end up with a lot of little windows in Fiji, and so sometimes if it gets hidden, you can use the shortcut Control-Shift-C to bring that up to the forefront. Let's open up the channels tool here. This allows us to do the composite, which is an overlay. As it stands, we can pick one color at a time, and you'll see it changes the channel, so it's just one channel only. If we want an overlay, we can change this to composite, and it overlays the channels we want, and we can just pick the pair that suits whichever we're trying to display at the time. And now once we're in a composite mode, we'll see that when we go between channels, we'll see the text is blue. For our blue selection, we've got a blue box around the outside in that point, and then green text there, and then red text there. Also the color of the histogram, if you can see it to some degree here, will be reflecting the channel you can adjust. So we can go in and change the contrast here. Always make sure your data is not saturated, so keep the data within the bit range, be it 8-bit, 12-bit or 16-bit, make sure it's within that range. But then if you want to, you can saturate the display afterwards if that's what you need to show. Then we go ahead and just sort of bump them up a little bit, because it's nice to have a little more contrast, especially for certain displays. Okay, and so that's the basics of opening and displaying. and we're going to come back to a couple of other options. We're going to talk about saving different file types, data file versus picture files, and we'll go from there.